It gives us a backdrop on a new creation. Am I right? We know how the earth was without form and void, and there was darkness on the face of the deep. But God, in the beginning, just like in our beginning, wasn't looking for communication because there was already a conversation in him, because they said, let us make man. But what he was looking for was creativity. The first movement you see is creation. As believers, we believe that our sole purpose is to communicate with God, have fellowship and communion with God. But our first purpose, I know it's going to wreck some theology, is to have dominion. Yeah. Is to have creativity. Now, y'all get ready for that. Why do you think the enemy want to put stuff in you to make you align your tongue with his? Why do you think he wants you to be accused of the brethren? Why do you think all the conversation going on in your head? So that you can let your tongue be a pen of a ready writer, like the scripture says. That's what it's all about. Everything that's in your life is a product of what came out of your mouth. The way you feel today is a product of what came out of your mouth. Let me get back here. Something easy. Something real easy. All right, Revelation 4:1. Y'all ain't ready for that. See, that's a whole other level. But that's what we were unctioned for. You were saved because God wanted to rearrange the earth realm. That's what he saved me, because he wanted to restore the earth. It's still, in certain elements, remain without form and void because of the system that exists. There's two systems. There's the kingdom of darkness, the kingdom of light. That's why we can't operate in that one system we've been translated out of. Because it's full of chaos and disorder and destruction. But you can't transition without your vocabulary increasing. That's why you can tell when somebody starts changing and shifting, because the language shifts with it. There's a whole other vocabulary. Okay. Behold, a door was opened in heaven, and the first voice which I heard was as it were of a trumpet talking with me, which said, come up hither. So we said on the teaching before, the first teaching, that God is inviting us to come up hither. How do we come up hither? We listened, We change our thinking. We change our thinking. We change our thinking. The capacity to interpret the things of God. So our interpretation has to shift. That's what they call a paradigm shift. We have to shift in our thinking. We should always be changing and shifting in our thinking. Prosperity is dependent upon your shifting. Everything shifts inwardly before it shifts outwardly. There's no adjustment internally. Things externally remains the same. And that's what we get, status quo. Status quo. And so we're not status quo. Status quo is religion. We've done it this way for X amount of years. There's no intention in our hearts to change it. If it was good for great-grandmama them, it's good for us today. No. Even society understands the role of adjustment and shifting. Am I right? I thank God that TV and technology, as far as it goes, shifted. Because a long time ago, when I was growing up, I was a little tyster. You had to get up to turn dials. You didn't have a remote. The only remote it was your 2 feet. And you had to sit around the older people because they wanted to use you to change the channel. So you teeners and mid-adulters, just understand that you got some luxuries that we had. We were able to so rough. So it's just some things that technology has changed. And we can go through a whole litany of stuff. How we used to get in our car. Remember all that? Man, it was just, I mean, just thinking about that is enough. 8-track is just enough. Just a whole bunch of stuff. Oh boy, anyhow. Used to have to get in the gas tank behind the license plate. Remember anybody remember that? Yeah, the one on the side of the car was behind the license plate. Y'all remember that, don't you? So everything is changing, you know. Now you don't have to go to the bank comes to you. A lot of things are shifting, so we have to shift with it. And the only way we're going to shift, we got to release ownership to the previous lifestyle that we had before. We got to start acknowledging God's desire to include us into the expansion of His glory. And He's going to use that through an entity. Not an institution, but an entity. An entity. It's a people. Yes. Amen. It's a level of solidarity and purpose. It's got to be what? Solidarity and purpose is the fruit of that solidarity. So they're going to be single in purpose, single-minded. Y'all got that? So we got to go beyond all the natural realms of our previous perceptions. There is an open door for accessing the resources of the Spirit. The cadence in this hour is to come up hither. Am I the only one hearing that sound? You can tell when He's calling you up because the things here that you've included in your life has no relevance, no attraction, no appeal, frustration. You upset with your job, trying to figure out, I hate this job. Anybody been there before? Yeah. It's not necessarily the job, by the way. There are bad managers and supervisors, but if you had 3 jobs and all 3 of them are bad, it's not the job. They 10 miles apart, different parts of the city, of the state, and you know, those are some internal things. God is calling us up to relinquish faulty systems and the things, especially things connected to our biologies and our religious education. He wants those things to begin to dissipate because there's an open door for a fresh release of the resources of the Spirit. So the cadence in this hour is to transition and bring an end to the former things. There has to be some closure. You can't ascend without closure. Look at everybody. Look, I'm thinking about a whole bunch. Even Abraham, he had to bring closure to transition. God didn't speak to Abraham on another level. He spoke to him to come out, but it was a whole other level of communication, because in Genesis 13 it says that him and Lot found themselves in a tight spot. And then God told him to say, hey, you know what, let Lot get what he wants. Lot went and picked out the best of everything, and we know how that ended. But it said after Lot separated, God said, that's so specific. After who? Lot separated, God said. That word Lot is veiled, by the way. It means to be concealed. So after the veil was removed, after the limitations were removed, God said. See, a lot of us got lots. A lot of everything. A lot of stuff, a lot of drama, a lot of questions. But after you reconcile that thing and do judicious prudence, make up your mind to be right, then God said. God said. Amen? So we got to break away from the form. That's what Jesus was doing when he walked by. James and John, Peter and John, when they had the nets in their hands. He told them, he said, I'll make you fishers of men. They said he dropped the nets. Why? Because God was calling them up higher. A whole nother perception. You fish in this level, but I'm going to show you how to fish on a whole nother level. Same thing he told Moses, what's in your hand? He said, it's a rod. So if you look through the four chapters from Exodus 3 to Exodus 5 chapters, 8, you find out that rod that used to have Moses' name on it became the rod of God. The same rod, but God elevated it. I know y'all looking for new stuff.
That's great.
The only thing I'm looking for is to include God. Because once you include God and make him front and center, It's upgraded. Automatically. In your hand, on your person, in your belly, in your mouth. It's upgraded. It don't have to be new. It don't have to be spooky. This is what he wants. So when we say come up hither, it speaks of a transition, an end to the former, and the limitations of an in part, which is fragmentary and incomplete. See, we had an in part gospel. We had an in part, gospel, the glad tidings, the good things. In part was told us to get to a building, find a church, find a man, find a people. But it's fragmentary. It's limited in scope. And we've sold ourselves for nothing, believing that is the cure-all. We didn't want to go back, but we didn't want to go forward, and we didn't want to go up. So we wanted to hide out in the spiritual septic tank. Just so the pastor can analyze us from service to service to make sure we're on point. So we were inundated with rules and regulations that constricted us instead of defining us. That's why I told you. One of the teachers, I said, y'all should be one of the happiest people in the earth, especially in this city. If you can't make it out of the earth, into the earth, just being connected to what's said in here, what's being declared in here, should bring such a level of freedom to your life. You're probably saying, well, you just be braggadocious on yourself. No, that's not what I'm doing. I just trust, not only do I trust the message, I trust the sender. And I know in whom I have believed. And I'm persuaded he's able to keep that which I commit to him against that day. So if I commit my life to him, you don't have to ever worry about being misdirected or abused, or, you get what I'm saying? Some of the other faculties that we got exposed to, and some of the, oh boy, without being derogatory, just all the degradation and abuse and down, speaking down to you, and I like to speak up to you. I like to. Sometimes we have to address certain things. I like to